Zoo Day Disaster. Chapter 1. It was annual free day at the Bikini Bottom Zoo. Just about everyone in town was at the zoo having fun, including SpongeBob's greedy boss, Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs loved free day. On free day, he could get all kinds of things without spending any of his beloved money. Wearing a fake black mustache as a disguise, Mr. Krabs grabbed everything he could. When a zoo employee handed out free balloons, Mr. Krabs took the whole bunch. At the free drink stand, he filled an entire barrel with soda. He even took light bulbs right out of the zoo's sidewalk lamps. "Top of the morning, boys," said Mr. Krabs a little nervously when two Bikini Bottom policemen approached him. He was afraid they might recognize him as the guy who took advantage of free day every year. "Whew," he sighed as they walked on by without saying anything. "My disguise must have fooled them," he thought. "Next stop, gift shop," he said with his pockets full of hot dogs and lollipops. Mr. Krabs ran eagerly into the gift shop for more goodies. SpongeBob didn't notice his Krusty Krab boss as he and his best friend Patrick headed for the zoo's magnificent oyster stadium. He was too excited about seeing Claymoo, the giant oyster. "Not only is he the largest oyster held in captivity," he explained to Patrick, "but he also does tricks." SpongeBob took off his free day propeller beanie and spoke in a loud announcer's voice. "He spits a giant pearl 100 feet in the air, like a cannonball!" Now SpongeBob pretended to be the giant oyster. He waddled up his hat, stuffed it in his mouth, chewed a little, and spat the beanie hat into the air. It landed with a plop, right on a little kid's ice cream cone. "Why are we hanging around watching a cheap imitation?" yelled Patrick, excited, hopping from foot to foot. "Let's get over there!" Panting, he and SpongeBob sprinted into Oyster Stadium, shouting, "This is the greatest day of our lives!" But when they reached the inside of the stadium and peered down into Claymo's arena, the giant oyster was sleeping soundly. He snored, opening his huge mouth and curling his shiny pink tongue. He sure wasn't doing any tricks. "This is the greatest day of our lives?" asked Patrick, leaning on the red rope that kept visitors from falling into Claymo's pit. "Boring!" Claymoo just kept snoring. Bubbles rose from his shell with every loud, rumbling snore. SpongeBob was disappointed too. He told Patrick the giant oyster would be a sight to behold, and now it was just lying there sleeping. "You're right, Patrick," he said. "We came to see." SpongeBob switched back to his announcer's voice. "Pearls 100 feet in the air!" He pointed one yellow finger straight up toward the top of the stadium. Patrick smiled, agreeing with his friend. "Oh, try my oyster call," said SpongeBob. He raised his hands to his mouth and opened wide. He cried, ending with a pathetic squeak. Claymoo just kept on snoring. SpongeBob turned to Patrick helplessly. He'd given it his best shot, but his oyster call hadn't worked at all. Patrick looked bored. "Well, I'm out of here," he said. "Thanks for nothing, SpongeBob." As Patrick walked out of the stadium, SpongeBob sadly watched his friend go by. This day wasn't turning out the way he'd planned at all. Free day at the zoo was supposed to be fun, not boring. In fact, it was supposed to be the greatest day of their lives. He knew he had to do something to save the day. Stay tuned for Chapter 2, coming up soon.